Hey everyone, this is Matt, and in today's video I have for you a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel Anti-Spell Festival Eldlich Deck profile. That's right, so the Anti-Spell Festival is upon us. It came out like a day or two ago, whatever. Yeah, I've already grinded through it completely. I've gotten all the rewards, and yes, that's right, I am playing Eldlich. This is the most fun I've had playing Eldlich in a while. The format is perfect for Eldlich. If you're not playing Eldlich, what are you even doing? Like, this festival was made for us, right? So if you watch my Adventures of video that I just posted about me grinding through this festival with Eldlich, I rant on that video about how this festival was botched by Konami, and I'll just touch on it a little bit. But basically, every other festival, like, they banned Eldlich and like a bunch of other like decks that were not for the festival. So, and yet now that we have a festival that appears to be made for Eldlich, right? Like, spells all banned, only monsters and traps. For some weird reason, they decide to ban a bunch of floodgates. No rivalry, no Gozen, no skill drain, no Tisabu, right? And they, for some weird, unknown reason, limit Solemn Strike to 2 and Solemn Judgment to 1. I'll never understand why. And then they just left every other deck untouched, right? So you play this festival, and you're playing Sword Soul, you're playing Adamancipator, you're playing Phantom Knights. Like, you're playing decks that I feel like you were already playing in ranked. So it felt a little bad in that regard. But it doesn't matter because all those decks lose to Eldlich. So anyway, let's get into this deck building, and just like in my most recent deck building videos, I'm going to walk you through the deck building process. So let's start with the Eldlich Core cards. So 2 copies of the Golden Lord. Do not run 3. Do not run 3. Do not run 3. Do not run 3. Never run 3 copies. 2 is all you need. I never got both of these copies banished. I can't even remember if I got one of these copies banished. 3 copies of Elixir. 1 copy of Conquistador, because that's all we're allowed to run. 2 copies of Huaquero. So 8 cards. Eldlich Core. If Conquistador was at 3, which it should be, we would be running 3 copies, but alas. Yeah, so Elixir summons your Eldlich from the deck or graveyard, so this can be ashed or ghostspelled. Huaquero banishes a card, Conquistador pops a card if Eldlich is on the field. So, and each of these traps search the Elixirs, all search the gold land traps. The gold land traps all search the Elixirs. Okay, so that's our Eldlich Core. Very straightforward. Y'all have seen this before. Now, in terms of our control core, so we are running Lord of the Heavenly Prison. I do put 3 of these in. But then after playtesting, I decided to cut 1, and the reason I'm cutting 1 is because, because there's no Lightning Storm, there's no Twin Twister, there's no Harpy's Feather Duster. I felt like Lord at 2 was enough, because Lord cannot deal with Evenly Matched or Red Reboot, right? So I just left Lord of the Heavenly Prison at 2. The only card that this really protected me against was Sword Soul Blackout. But even if they're allowed to resolve Blackout, it only pops 2 of your cards, so it's not that big a deal. So I opted to play only 2 Lords, okay, of the Heavenly Prison. Since we don't have pot cards, we're not obviously playing any spells, and Lord will not be searching spells. Most of the time, Lord of the Heavenly Prison will be searching us our Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine. Anyway, back to the other core cards, because we're playing a control deck. Solemn cards, so 2 copies of Strike, 1 copy of Judgment. So yeah, unfortunately, Strike is at 2 for some weird reason, otherwise we'd be playing 3. Judgment, because the main form of back row clear is evenly matched, but there's also Red Reboot, which is annoying. Both of those are trap cards. So Lord cannot deal with those, but Solemn Judgment can, right? We're also playing 2 copies of Trap Trick. Yeah, so if Lord of the Heavenly Prison doesn't search Elixir, it almost always searches Trap Trick, but sometimes we just search the trap directly. So yeah, I would say these are all the core cards that like you should absolutely be running, no exceptions. I would even add 3 copies of Torrential Tribute to that mix because, again, Eldlich doesn't care about blowing up the board, so we want to blow up the board as much as possible. Alright, so let's get into our standard, regular, normal trap card text. So we are running 2 copies of Needle Sealing. So remember how I said that the 2 of the most popular decks in this format are Sword Soul and Adamancipator. Adamancipator are notorious for putting tons and tons of monsters on the field, as you probably have seen from my videos in the Adventures of video I just posted, right? My last Adventures of. So yeah, 2 copies of Needle Sealing. So basically, thanks to Trap Tricks, we have 5 copies of Torrential, 4 copies of Needle Sealing. So yeah, we're blowing up the board. And again, Sword Soul, like, before their Synchro 10 hits the board, they have at least 3 monsters, if they don't have a Monk, right? Which means Needle Sealing will blow them up. Or if you just contribute, like, one of your Golden Land traps, like, you know, you'll get to 4 very, very easily. So, Needle Sealing, almost never a dead card for me in this festival. Yeah, Needle Sealing is back on the menu. 2 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. So, Ice Dragon's Prison is good for 2 reasons. One, well, Ice Dragon is amazing against Sword Soul, right? You banish either Chi-Xiao, or maybe Cheng-Ying, or maybe Protoss, right? Because Protoss is annoying to out. And you banish one of their worms in the graveyard. Most of the time, you'll be banishing a Tenyi. But sometimes, if they don't have a Tenyi, you'll be banishing Moye. Because Moye is a water, and some Sword Soul players run Adamaspator, which requires a water in the graveyard to have its Omni. It's a spell trap negate. So, okay, so far so good. So, I do run 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Even though I run this card, I'm actually going to replace this, and I grind through the entire festival with it. I'm actually going to replace these cards with something else, but I'll only show you at the end of the video because I want you to see the deck list that I actually won with and actually got to the end with, and then I'll say, all right, what should these cards have been instead? All right, let's talk about the spice. Here is where the spice comes in, and for those of you who see my Adventures of video and have been following my any of the posts I've been making on my channel, we are running 3 copies of Broken Line. Broken Line is, as the name implies, broken. It's a rare, by the way. This card reads, it's a counter trap. When a spell trap card or monster effect is activated in this card's column, while this card is set, negate the activation if you do destroy it. So, basically, this is like a Solemn Strike or Judgment, because it stops spell traps and monster effects, right? Negates and destroys. But doesn't cost life points, but it has to be in the same column. Oh, how do you guarantee the same column? Well, going second, your opponent sets up their board. You see what column their monsters are. They summon a Baronne de Fleur on the leftmost column. You literally set this card right in front of Baronne, and then on their turn, when they try to use Baronne to pop one of your cards, you kill Baronne with Broken Line. Done, right? Like, this card is really amazing going second. Amazing going second, and okay going first. It's okay going first because the middle column is the most popular column, so if you're not unsure, when in doubt, put it in the middle column. But if you have more than one of these, or you don't think they're going to play in the middle column, put the columns that line up with the extra monster zones. So yeah, this card was almost never dead when I used it. Sometimes it was, but then again, it just became like discard fodder for Eldlich, right? To send to the graveyard or to revive itself. So yeah, 3 copies of Broken Line, absolutely bonkers. How good. This card has stopped evenly matched multiple times, as you'll see in my Adventures of video. Next, we're running... Oh, I forgot to mention, Dogmatic of Punishment. Of course, this is like a no-brainer. 2 copies of Punishment. So this is not Spice, this is part of the core, right? In my opinion. Yeah, we are running 2 copies of Dogmatic of Punishment. It's front row, it pops 2, thanks to Entis. It's front row removal and potentially back row removal. So yeah, definitely run 2. Alright, back to the Spice. We have 2 copies of Witch's Strike. That's right, Witch's Strike is back on the menu. Wait, how come? Well, Witch's Strike... think about the decks you're dealing with. You're dealing with Sword Soul. What do they make? Baronne de Fleur. You're dealing with Adamaspator. What do they make? Baronne de Fleur. They make Borlo Savage Dragon. They make Appaloosa, right? You're dealing with decks that might be running Solemn Judgment because they have nothing else they can play, right? Solemn Judgment is an Omni Negate, right? So Witch's Strike is so good right now. It's live almost all the time. You'll see in my Adventures of video that I do resolve this a lot, and when I do, it's almost like guaranteed to win. So yeah, in terms of going second, just from our trap cards, we have an insane going second, right? Let's say any Sword Soul board, double Witch's Strike with triple Broken Line, well, if they have a Baronne, they're fucked. They're completely fucked, right? Adamaspator, same thing. For Ice Dragon, another thing I forgot to mention about Ice Dragons is Block Dragon is really annoying to out. So you out it with Ice Dragons because it's a rock monster. When it banishes, it's dead. Otherwise, it's just gonna infinitely recycle itself from the graveyard. But anyway. Yeah, so Witch's Strike back on the menu, and thanks to Trap Trick, we have 4 copies of Witch's Strike, right? Very straightforward. Now, let's go into the spiciest tech of all. 3 copies of 7 Tools of the Bandit. That's right. Let's read what this card says. It is a rare, so it's basically free. Counter Trap. When this trap card is activated, pay 1,000 life points. When a trap card is activated, pay 1,000 life points. Negate the activation if you do destroy it. Oh no, they have evenly match, 7 tools. They have red reboot, 7 tools. The number of times I've used 7 tools in this festival is mind blowing. Watch my Adventures of video. I use this card so many times. This card is I'm not exaggerating when I say this. It's the best card in the format, right? You don't have to deal with back row clear. There's no Lightning Storm Feather Duster, right? Lord can't really protect you from evenly matched red reboot, but this card can. And guess what? This card's at 3, folks. So that's right. So in terms of cards to stop back row clear, Judgment and 3 7 tools by themselves, right? But plus, if we have Broken Line and they play it in the correct column, you can also stop evenly matching. Most of the time, your opponent will play it in the middle column, especially if you set 5, right? They'll play it in the middle column. You'll flip Broken Line, and they'll be like, "Oh, oh shit!" Exactly. I'm telling you, please play this. Worst case scenario, like if they don't have evenly matched or red reboot, they'll have a trap that you want to get rid of. Maybe they'll have Blackout, right? Let's say you're in a mirror matchup against another control deck, a Trap Tricks deck, or an Altergeist deck, or maybe an Eldlich deck. Guess what? This card literally counters most of their entire deck. This will win you mirror matchups. This will win you matches against control decks. I'm telling you, run 3 of these cards. You will not regret it. Now, some people like to say, "Oh, what about Wiretap?" Right? Isn't Wiretap a better card? Because Wiretap doesn't cost life points, and but instead of negating the activation, destroy it, and negates the activation, shuffles the card into the deck. Well, most of the time, I'm using this against like Blackout, evenly matched. Red reboot, I don't want the card back in the deck. I want the card dead, right? Obviously, in a mirror matchup like Eldlich, if you negate their Elixir, it sends it back to the deck. That's really bad for them, right? So you can run Wild Trap if you want. I mean, I don't think it's better. I still think 7 tools is the way to go because I think destroying is just more useful, right? Also, this is super rare, so if you don't want to spend gems, this is a rare, yo. This is rare. It's like so good, so much bang for your buck. You have no idea. All right. What else do we run? So we have 6 cards left to fill slots. I'm going to fill it up with going second cards. I'm going to do 2 copies of Maximum C. There's no Call by the Grave in this format. There's no Crossout Designator, but there is Ash. Max C going second is just great. Very unlikely to be Ash. If it is Ash, then great. You don't have to deal with Ash anymore. That's Ash bait, right? But it'll either end their turn or they'll take the Max C challenge and let you draw a bunch of cards, right? We're running 2 copies of Lava Golem. Lava Golem, really good against Sword Soul, right? But really against Adamantipator. Like, tribute 2 of their problematic boss monsters, and their board becomes significantly weaker. And on that note, we are running 2 copies of Wind Dragon Raw Sphere Mode. So, yeah, this is probably the best one. Sometimes it's live against Sword Soul if they went into Monk or Protoss. Most of the time it's not, but this is almost always live against Adamantipator. They will put out so many monsters. It'll make your head spin, right? So, yeah. So this is my Eldlich deck. Don't fuck with these ratios. But there is one change I'll make, which I'll show you after I do the extra deck. So let's do the extra deck first. So let's start with our Dogmatic Punishment targets. 3 copies of Elder Entity Entis. Punishment pops 2. 1 copy of Wind Pegasus is basically a it gets you a pop, but also sets you up for a bounce, right? Which is a good way to out Changing, right? If you need it to. 1 copy of Cyframe Lord Omega. Sometimes you... Honestly, this card, I never really got to use it. Actually, that's not true. I used it one time where I used this to shuffle my own trap back into my deck. I think I was against... I'm trying to remember. I was against... Oh, yeah, it was... I had a Punishment. I used Punishment to kill one of their monsters. I didn't have a second card to pop off Entis. So I send Omega, I pop their monster, and then on my turn, I top deck Trap Trick, and then I use Omega to shuffle Punishment back into my deck. So my deck has 2 punishments, and now I can Trap Trick into it, right? So it's good for like recycling some of your cards as well. This is bouncing your opponent's cards. Alright, the XTs. 1 copy of Constellar Pallades. I think I used this once or maybe twice. One of the Lyralus matchups, I think I used it to bounce their F0 or something. 1 copy of Gustav Max, so Super Dreadnought, Rail Cannon. Because we're not using Extra and we're not randomly banishing our extra deck, this card comes up a lot. Like, I think just in my Adventures of video, it comes up like 2 or 3 times. This card is great. Like, please run this card. And of course, 1 copy of Lieb, so this enables OTK, but also this sets up a 4K beater in case you need to beat over something really big. I think in my Adventures of video, I used it to beat over Kentagrina, right? Which won me the game. Link package. 1 copy of Link Spider. 1 copy of Imduck. Same reason we always have. We want to link away our Golden Land traps, right? Imduck has that added little effect where you can attack into a monster it points to pop it. But also, it's a wind, which will be important for our Charmers. So we're running Lina the Light Charmer, Wind the Wind Charmer, and Dark the Dark Charmer. So Lina can link with any 2 monsters, one being a light, and most of our monsters are light, right? Eldlich and all the Golden Land traps are lights. Wind the Wind Charmer makes wind, and basically uses to seal your opponent's Burrow in the Fleur. That's the point. That's the purpose of this card. You added Burrow in the Fleur, you take it from them, and then you pop it. So I think I may have used Wind the Wind Charmer once the entire festival, but I used Lina the Light Charmer a lot. Dark the Dark Charmer almost never came up because you can only make it by linking Lord of the Heavenly Prison. But yeah, I never felt like I really needed it. So feel free to cut this, I suppose, if you want. So 1 copy of Draco Master of the Tenyi. This is the Link 3. We don't run Celine because we don't have spellcasters to revive. So we run this instead. It's a Link 3. It's a light. It's good. It cannot be destroyed by effect monsters, right? In battle. And then finally, Access Code Talker. So Access Code Talker, all these links help us climb towards Access Talker. Is just an OTKer, right? I'd say of all my extra deck, I used all my punishment targets. I used all my XEs, and I used my Link 1s and Lina. I think I used Draco Masters once, just so that I could link away Eldlich and bring it back at 3,500. So I don't think I ever actually used Access Code. So, but I could have. It's just that, like, it was in the games where, like, oh, they were at 8,000 life points. Like, 5,300 was not going to OTK, so why bother, right? But anyway, so yeah, so that's my deck. And in terms of what I would change about this deck, is I would cut D barrier for summon limit. So my mistake was thinking that summon limit was banned because, like, when I was looking at, like, the cards, Goes and Match banned, right? Rivalry of Warlords banned. All the floodgates I was looking up were banned. That for some reason my mind just, like, skipped, or like it just skipped my mind, and I didn't check if summon limit was banned, and I never actually saw it in the festival until that one duel in my Adventures of. I think it was against a Inspector board or some deck that I did see, oh shit, summon limit is legal. I didn't know that, right? So yeah, cut D barrier for summon limit. Why? D barrier going first is good. Going second, it's a lot weaker, although not terrible, right? Summon limit is terrible going second, but much better than D barrier going first. So since I feel like I have enough going second options, I have Max C's, I have Lava Golems, I have Sphere Modes, I have Torrential, I have Needle Sealing, I have Punishment, I have Solemn Strike, I have Witch's Strike, I have Broken Line. I have so many good going second options, but also good going first options. I just felt like, even though I did not play this card, I could definitely think of plenty of games where I had D-Barrier and I wish I had Summon Limit instead. I can't really think of a game where I had D-Barrier and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I had D-Barrier and not Summon Limit. So yeah, I think you'll have a lot more success with Summon Limit. Even though it's ass going second, it's like the only floodgate we have access to. If you really, really want a third copy of Summon Limit, so if you really want to run 3, you can take out, I guess, a third copy of Broken Line, I suppose, if you really, really want to. But I actually would rather have Broken Line, because I don't want to draw more than one Summon Limit, because Summon Limit, technically not hard once per turn, but it's a soft once per turn, whereas Broken Line is not a once per turn by any means. If you draw all 3 Broken Lines, you can use all 3 of them. Just set them in the middle 3 columns, and I'm sure you'll hit something. So, but yeah, so this is the deck profile. Yeah, D-Barrier unnecessary, even though, like, there's a lot of synchro summoning. There's also, like, Adam Aspirator can also make a lot of link plays and XCs, and there's also the Zodiac and Tri-Brigade, right? Just go with Summon Limit. You'll have a lot easier time if you go with Summon Limit. So, just be aware, since I haven't talked about Summon Limit before, or like shown you games with it. Only flip Summon Limit after they've summoned the second time. Once the second summon has occurred, then you flip Summon Limit. Or if they activate an effect that would create a third summon, then you flip Summon Limit, right? That's the best time to flip it. So if you're, assuming you're going first. Okay. So to be fair, going second, it's not awful because we have a lot of board breakers via Sphere Mode, Lava Golem, Broken Line, etc., that you break their board with Torrential, maybe Needlesling, whatever, and then you can flip Summon Limit on them to prevent them from building a second board. So when I say Summon Limit is like useless going second, not entirely true. It's actually like fine going second, but it's like much better going first. So, alright, so this is the deck that you want. Even though I didn't play with Summon Limit, please play it. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. I hope you're able to quickly and just as quickly and just as easily grind to all the rewards like I was able to. Yeah, but trust me, Broken Line, 7 tools, Witcher Strike, all these other cards, these are absolutely like just godlike, right? Just please play these. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed and that you will also appreciate the level of spice that I brought to this deck profile. Because yeah, I definitely appreciate these cards so much during this event. So yeah, see you in the next video. Peace.